I was more proud of actually all the hard work and sacrifices I made to get there rather than that moment. And so to me, it's probably more about cherishing it, because if it was just given to you, it's not as sweet.
This is Dave Meltzer, CEO of Sports One Marketing, here with Entrepreneur, the Playbook. And I have Lucas Krause.
Thank you.
Ex-athlete, I'm going to say, but most importantly, a true entrepreneur. And the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast is this is an exceptional book, The Business of You, built for our audience, right? This is a mainstream business book, but, going through at a very high level, the whole finding, managing, and succeeding in your career really stems from what my successes stem from, what I learned not in business school or law school or undergraduate, what I truly learned on the field helped me more to be successful than anything else in my life. And Lucas, you played minor league baseball, but to get into the minor leagues, you already had to the idea of not limiting my point of entry, right?
Correct.
Tell me a story about how you don't even play in college, basically, and end up with the Mets.
I failed a lot. And it was one of those...
Like every other successful person.
Well, exactly. You learn from it. I think that's the most important thing. You learn from your failures. Everyone says, get back up, but get back up wiser every single time.
Good point.
And so, after graduating, wasn't recruited, had 0 scholarship offers.
Decided first base?
Yep. Tried to walk on a couple times at Indiana University, got cut. And then made the cut for fall ball my senior season, which is really unconventional, and then got cut again. So it wasn't, they didn't cut me enough. They had to cut me one more time and let me in the door.
Now, were you from Indiana originally?
Originally from the Chicagoland area.
Okay, because you look very Midwestern. Maybe it's the plaid shirt, but when I think of you, I think of Hoosiers. I was like, this is like a clean-cut, really nice guy. My daughter's thinking about going to Indiana.
I just wanted to have a little more like the SoCal feel, relaxed here, because I just left snow in Park City.
Yeah.
But through the journey, I went through and worked for 2 years, and I reinvented myself as a pitcher, doing all the unglamorous stuff you wouldn't want to do. So running every night after working 10 hours, lifting weights, and trying to find someone to play catch for you was almost next to impossible. So I became best friends with a brick wall on Maplebrook Elementary School. I had a strike zone spray painted on it. And I worked simulated bullpen sessions against the wall every night. And you can imagine it's cold in Chicago. So if it was 10 below or there was snow, didn't matter. I'd clear a path and throw against the wall. And so did that and went to every single tryout I could. I got cut from 5 major league open tryouts in the Chicagoland area, 2 independent league tryouts, had a private workout with the Baltimore Orioles, cut. And then I had a friend, fortunate enough, who lined up one with the Mets. And so I took a PTO day off from work, flew out to Norfolk, Virginia, where the Mets AAA affiliate was, went through the workout on a Thursday morning. We talked through terms. And the funny thing is they made me quit work that next day, had to fly back to Chicago, quit. And I was in spring training on a Sunday. So it was such a whirlwind.
Wow. All success stories. And, today you are a successful entrepreneur working in real estate, multi-billions of dollars of real estate, incredible career. But, everybody thinks you're an overnight success.
Yeah, it's funny, right? The overnight success is you work your tail off. But even that, like the baseball story is perfect. I went through 2 years of grinding and getting cut, dozens of times.
Why do you think the universe tests people? I always say, in order to have your testimony, you got to have a test.
I think it tests you just so you actually enjoy it and cherish it. And that moment when I made it to spring training and I kind of soaked in what was going on around me. To my right, I was throwing a bullpen session, and Al Leiter, multiple-time All-Star, and then Tom Glavine was a couple mounds over from me. I was more proud of actually all the hard work and sacrifices I made to get there rather than that moment. And so to me, it's probably more about cherishing it, because if it was just given to you, it's not as sweet.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, everyone has their potential. And sometimes we get really close to reaching it because we do what I call the empty mile stuff. What you did to make the minor leagues was not the extra mile. Right? There's tons of kids in the extra mile that work really hard. They played college baseball. But when you don't even play college baseball and you are in the snow spray painting squares on a brick wall.
I didn't do that. I don't want to get in trouble for
right. But you
tagging a elementary school. Come on.
taping tape up there, whatever it was. But think about it. That's not the extra mile. I believe that's the empty mile. And a lot of times, to me, the people, and I'm blessed to have this show and my TV show and run one of the most notable sports agencies in the world and see what I call the spirit of excellence. There's something about that empty mile, a belief system where everyone else, were you telling people about your dream while you were doing it, or was it kind of on the hush-hush because you didn't want to hear the naysayers?
Yeah, I kept it on the hush-hush a little bit because, you're 22, 23 years old. You haven't played college baseball.
You have a job.
You have a real job. You're kind of like, yeah, give the dream up. So there's only a few people that I trusted.
And who were those people?
I had some friends, my parents.
Your parents
mostly,
too?
Yeah, they knew.
And
to a certain extent, but I was still kind of...
And what, like the people that were close to you, because I find that, other people sometimes are our biggest downfall because they end up putting faith in what they want for us instead of what we want for us.
Oh,
for our best interest.
Yes, people will impose that, and I think you nailed some of that empty mile stuff. Of we don't even know what we're really capable of unless we really push those limits. And so you ask about why do we get tested? It's to understand where those limits really are, and so often we become our own limiting factor.
And when you were out there, with this much hope, did you just love throwing, or like I used to play football all the time, and I would throw against wall. Like I pretend I literally, when I was in college, I went to New York in the summer, and I would run the sidewalks because I was a punt returner and kick returner because I thought that was the best way to train myself to move and juke and like if you can run on a New York sidewalk full speed without running people over, a football field was incredibly big to me.
Yeah.
What drove you? Like, because it is like way out there to think that you would make a major league team.
Oh, it is. You have to have passion behind what you're wanting to do. And so it's having anything, whether it's a business or your goals, a clear picture of what you want to accomplish and driving kind of your why. And to me, it's, what drives me a lot of times is just kind of bringing out my own best. And so it's kind of testing those limits. Writing the book or anything I've done in business is about competing and being your best self. And so you have to invest the time and energy to definitely practice and prepare, because if you don't, you're just going to put a half-hearted effort out there and the results are going to show it.
And in this book, you've come up with kind of, I think, 5 principles, is that right? Or 5?
It's definitely a framework on how to treat your career like a business. And it starts like any great business of having a clear vision of what you want to accomplish, and then going through the whole life cycle, assessing your skills, how to ultimately conduct that gap analysis, then to how to really build yourself up and prepare, and then gets into more practical elements of how to manage your day-to-day more effectively, how to market your own brand within a company. And so it tries to round out really for people early in their career. I know senior folks have taken nuggets away from it, but it is designed to give you that framework so that you can have that career, frankly, that you deserve.
What do you think the biggest mistake young people make? I think it's they limit their point of entry. They attach their happiness to one outcome. They limit their point of entry. And the people that are successful, if you re-engineer or deconstruct their career, when people look at you, I want to be just like you, how can I get there? And you deconstruct your career. It's like, well, do this and then play baseball, then go back and sell this. And, there's no way you would ever do it. It's only that, in other words, don't limit your point of entry and improve your skills, knowledge, and desire. What piece of advice do you give, those new newbies that come to you and say, how can I, be like you?
Well, I like yours because you create this more versatile person by not limiting your entry point. But to me, I've kind of lived by the mantra of it, it's okay to be the smartest guy in the room. You can't control that, but it pays to be the most prepared. If you're willing to put in all the time and energy to, prepare, whether it's for a meeting or it's even a one-on-one with your manager, if you're organized, that really represents yourself well, and you have a nice professional polish. But it's the same thing as you're meeting with a customer. If you don't know about your own customer and you're sitting across from the table from them, think about how poorly that reflects on you. And so to me, it's all about putting that preparation and that work in beforehand so that you come across polished, knowledgeable, and it makes things go a lot smoother.
That's great. One of my favorite piece of advice is be more interested than interesting, which goes to preparation. What would you suggest if, after all your preparation, and you've experienced this, you fall short?
Well, the key is to get back up, but to get back up wiser. So take the time to assess what went well, what went poorly, what can I do differently. I think all too often we just get fixated on the end result and not deconstruct what were the factors behind it at play. And so if you truly can assess that, next time you go up, you don't make the same mistake. That's what I learned through getting cut on all those different workouts. I went back every time and got better each time. And I think that's the reason why I finally made the cut eventually, after dozens of times of being told you're not good enough.
Yeah, but you know, eventually in your career, you find your niche and you become even more successful. And there comes a turning point in your career where you're no longer not trying to really reach something, but now you're truly expanding, right? It's like you found your frequency, you're trying to expand, and now you have to lead others, right? You have to empower others, not just yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What is that transition like to be able to now take the lessons that you know that work for you? And I know a book helps, but it's different than having employee and overhead.
It is. It's a shift, and it happens to entrepreneurs when their business starts to grow and they have employees. For me, I went from, after baseball and retired me, I'll just say, because as my body broke down on me, I went from an entry-level job to the C-suite of an industry-leading company in less than 10 years. And I had different points of my career where I started to realize, wait, I'm a leader here, and people are listening to what I said.
Yeah, and you look so young still, so like, probably back then it was even scarier, right? Like, who's this guy?
Oh, yeah, I was 27 years old and
you look like
leader for the operations division for one of the largest food companies in the world.
Yeah, and you look like you're 17.
Yeah, and I was in China, and they're looking at me like, who is this kid? And they talk to my direct reports.
It's Opie from Newberry.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But it's being very aware of the situational elements at play, what your role is, and what is the ultimate objective. I think it's kind of going back to the end in mind. Well, as your role as a leader is to get the most out of people, and develop talent. And it's great to have models on how you develop your talent, but having that discipline in the moment. How many times in your business does someone come up to you and says, hey, I have this problem, Dave, solve it.
Yeah.
And what do? You solve it. Well, if you're trying to groom that talent, it's having that discipline to step back and go, okay, let's troubleshoot this together and help them go through the critical, thinking skills. Talk about, okay, well, why would we take this path? What other solutions are out here? What are the downside? What do you ultimately recommend? Now, when you're busy, it's hard to do that because you're better off just solving the problem. But taking that 10 minutes, you can develop the talent for people very quickly.
Yeah, and I think I learned that most importantly being a parent, right? Because it's so easy just to give the answers. And when I learned that one question, how can we do this? Right? They come to me with questions, problems, concerns, both my kids and my employees. And if I can stay in the majesty of calmness, even if I'm in the fray of chaotic behavior, being able to be centered enough to say, okay, so how can we deal with this? First of all, empowering them that this is our problem, not just mine.
Quickly shift it over to you. Yeah, the ownership's so important, and sometimes that's got to be a challenge.
Of course.
You can see what the outcome's going to be, and how do you let them safely fail in an environment where it's good to fail every once in a while and learn from that, but we always try to protect everyone from some of those pains, and sometimes those are important for growing and stretching. Yeah,
one of the smartest things I've done in the business is I gave what's called a dummy tax award. So because I believe making mistakes is the best thing that can happen. It's waking up and growing up and looking up wiser. But for me, I will have the meeting where everyone goes around and shares the biggest mistake for the month. They will tell what value that I teach did they not adhere to, whether it's gratitude, empathy, accountability, or effective communication. Usually those four, what they've made the mistake in is value-based, because I want to empower people with values that then solve the problem. And then because this is so valuable, then I kind of assess who made the biggest mistake, and they get the dummy tax award, and they get a huge bonus, because I want to encourage people to make those mistakes. But I've almost thought about it, if you make the same mistake twice, I take away your bonus.
But what makes that so powerful is you actually back it up. It's so often where, as leaders of companies, you'll give it lip service, but then your actions kind of contradict that, and so people don't believe in it. So you're truly embodying and actually rewarding and putting your money where your mouth is. And I think you nailed the other component of it, right? Is making aggressive mistakes. It's not making silly mistakes. Going, okay, how are we going to prevent this?
From not being prepared,
yes,
right?
exactly.
That's you brought up that point. Like, don't make mistakes for not being prepared.
Yeah.
Make mistakes because you're learning, you're expanding, you're trying to jump higher and you slipped.
Exactly, and you're growing the business and expanding, and you ask the question, okay, how do we avoid this mistake in the future? Because I think all too often people just look at the end result and take no value away from it. Guess what? The mistake happened. You might as well extract some value from it.
Right. And Lucas, what makes you so interesting to me is one of the nuances that I pride myself in is that we're both very philosophical. we're both very spiritual and emotional and theoretical. And a lot of people will look at us, and you write books and you speak, and you know it all sounds great, but then there's the hardcore business guys that are like, yeah, but can you back it up with making money? Yeah, sure, you're about helping people, empowering people, but can you back it up by walking the walk? And one of the things I pride myself on is my motto is make a lot of money to help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. How do you reconcile being so financially successful with this great theoretical, philosophical outlook on life?
Well, I think you hit a key point of it. It's about building people up, and that's kind of what drives me a lot. And I've been very fortunate doing a lot of mentoring, and just got pulled into a group, Warrior Rising, which is helping vets transition into entrepreneurship.
Great
And so
cause.
it's a lot of fun to do that. And it's funny, I've been in franchising a bit, and I kind of naturally stumbled into it. I think I come from a family of educators, and I just love the element of helping small business owners, you know, have an idea or a concept and see them achieve their dreams. And so one of the backbones of our business is make dreams possible, and that's one of our strategic pillars, because we're in the business of helping people achieve their dreams. When they write that check for that franchise, they have grand visions of whether they're going to pass it down to their children or create generational wealth. And so it's a constant reminder to all of our team of that's what we're, you know, our job is and our mission.
That's awesome. Last question. You know, going back to your senior year in college, and here you were, you know, graduating and working this 10-hour day job, but having an alternative life, an alternative dream. What would you change, or what advice would you give yourself, you know, before you started shoveling snow and throwing balls against walls without painted stripes on there?
It's funny because I think there are things I could have done differently in high school and earlier, and maybe been a little more thoughtful in what position would have given me the best position to succeed, market myself a little better. But I don't know if I would change it, because of all those failures and everything I learned along the way has paid such great dividends to me today.
And what's the biggest lesson you learned?
To me, it's about just getting back up. And things aren't easy. And baseball came really easy to me at first. And I just almost got conditioned that next opportunity was going to fall into place. And that's a terrible place to be in. And now all of a sudden it was taken from me. It was ripped from me. You know, this dream that I had, and then I had to fight and claw for it. And so now when you secure something, you hold on preciously and you cherish it. So it's just one of those where I take a lot of pride in earning every penny, every cent, every win you get, because they don't come easily.
Yeah, well, meeting you, I know one thing, that you are an appreciator. You're grateful for everything you have, and you are in a quest to add value to it so that you can give it away and help others. And there should be more entrepreneurs out there. I'm really looking forward to recommending this book, because I have so many millennials and interns and young people, entrepreneurs out there with Entrepreneur Magazine especially. This is a great book to get started with. The Business of You, Understanding Yourself and the Skills, Knowledge, Desire. Preparation is absolutely something that we both believe in, and be more interested than interesting. We will have you back. Can't
Love
wait to figure out more I can do with you, because you are a success, not only in your career, but in your life. And I appreciate you joining me on the Playbook.
Well, thanks for the kind words, and thanks for having me.
Oh, awesome. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.